Some men inherit kingdoms. Others spend their entire lives fighting to build one. But only one man rose from hunger, betrayal, and near death to create the largest land empire the world has ever known. His name became a symbol of fear across continents. Entire cities surrendered before his army even arrived. Kings trembled when they heard that the Mongols were coming. But none of that seemed possible on the day his father died. Long before history remembered him as Genghis Khan, he was simply a boy named Temujin. He had no army, no wealth, no powerful family ready to protect him. In fact, by every measure of his time, he should have disappeared from history before he ever became a man. 12th century Mongolia was unlike anywhere else on Earth. There were no castles rising above the landscape, no great cities connected by stone roads, no permanent borders separating one nation from another, only endless grasslands stretching beyond the horizon. Life on the steppe was beautiful and merciless. Families moved with the seasons. They followed fresh grazing land for their horses, sheep, and cattle. Every possession they owned could be packed onto a wagon within hours. Nature decided everything. A harsh winter could destroy an entire tribe. A dry summer could leave thousands without food. And neighboring clans were often just as dangerous as the land itself. Children learned to ride horses almost before they could walk. Boys practiced with bows while they were still too young to call themselves warriors. Survival wasn't a skill, it was a way of life. Temujin was born into this unforgiving world around the year 1162. His father, Yasuge, was a respected tribal chief. He wasn't a king. He didn't rule an empire. But he had something that mattered far more on the Mongolian steppe. People followed him willingly. For a young boy, that meant security. It meant protection. It meant a future. Or at least, it should have. When Temujin was about 9 years old, his father took him across the steppe to arrange a future marriage, a common tradition among Mongolian tribes. On the journey home, Yasuge stopped to eat with a group of Tatars. They recognized him immediately. Years earlier, he had fought against them. Now they had their chance. They poisoned his food. By the time he returned home, he was already dying. Within days, he was gone. The moment his father died, Temujin's world collapsed. Without a leader, his family became a burden. The tribe that had once sworn loyalty to Yasuge made a cold decision. They abandoned his widow. They abandoned her children. They took the animals, they took the supplies, and they rode away, leaving one mother and her children alone. It wasn't simply betrayal. On the Mongolian steppe, it was almost a death sentence. There were no neighbors waiting to help, no government, no rescue, only endless plains, and a family struggling to survive one more day. They searched for wild roots buried beneath frozen soil. They caught fish with their bare hands. Sometimes they hunted small animals. Sometimes there was nothing to eat. Every sunrise brought the same question. Would this be the day they finally ran out of luck? For many children, such a life would have ended quickly. But hardship was slowly shaping something extraordinary inside Temujin. He learned that strength alone meant nothing. There would always be someone stronger. He learned that loyalty was more valuable than gold because he had experienced betrayal before he was old enough to understand it. Most importantly, the men who captured Temujin believed they had solved a problem. To them, he was nothing more than the son of a dead tribal chief. A boy with no army, no allies, no future. They placed a heavy wooden kang around his neck, a large collar designed to prevent escape. It was awkward, exhausting, and humiliating. Every movement became painful. Sleeping was almost impossible. For days, Temujin was forced to live as a prisoner. His captors believed that time would break his spirit. Instead, it sharpened his mind. He watched everything. Who stayed awake during the night? Who became careless? Which guards argued with each other? Which paths led toward the river? He stopped thinking like a frightened child. He started thinking like a survivor. Then, one evening, an opportunity appeared. Darkness slowly covered the camp. The guards relaxed. Some laughed around the fire. Others wandered away. Temujin knew he would probably never get another chance. If he failed, he would almost certainly be executed. He ran. The heavy wooden collar made every step agonizing. Branches struck his face. His lungs burned. Behind him, voices exploded into the night. They had discovered his escape. The chase began. Across the open steppe, there was nowhere to hide. No walls, no forests thick enough to disappear into. Only darkness and hope. Finally, Temujin reached a small river. Without hesitation, he lowered himself into the freezing water, keeping only his face above the surface. The current carried away his scent. The reeds concealed his body. For what must have felt like hours, he remained perfectly still while armed men searched only a few meters away. One wrong breath, one careless movement, and his story would have ended there. Then something unexpected happened. A man from the very tribe that had captured him found the hiding place. Temujin expected death. Instead, the stranger looked into the frightened boy's eyes and made a decision that would quietly change history. Rather than calling the guards, he chose to help. Historians identify this man as Sorkhan Shira. He hid Temujin until the search ended. Later, he helped remove the heavy wooden collar and gave the young fugitive a chance to disappear into the vast Mongolian steppe. It was a simple act of compassion, but without it, there may never have been a Genghis Khan. Years later, Temujin never forgot that kindness. He remembered every person who remained loyal, and every person who chose betrayal. Those memories would shape the way he ruled for the rest of his life. As he wandered across the steppe, free once again, Temujin understood something that few leaders of his time truly grasped. Power was not built on fear alone. Fear could force people to obey, but only loyalty could inspire them to follow someone into impossible battles. It was a lesson he would never forget. Soon, he began searching for the scattered friends of his father. Some refused to help. Others were willing to take the risk. Little by little, Temujin stopped being a lonely survivor and began becoming a leader. He didn't inherit an army. He built one loyal person at a time. Freedom did not change Temujin's life overnight. He was still poor, still hunted, still surrounded by enemies who believed he would never become more than the forgotten son of a dead chief. But something had changed. For the first time, people were beginning to choose him, not because they feared him, because they believed in him. That difference would eventually reshape the entire Mongolian steppe. As the years passed, Temujin searched for every ally he could find. Some had known his father, others had once shared the same hardships. One by one, small families and wandering warriors joined him. They were not attracted by wealth. There wasn't any. They weren't promised comfort. There was none. They followed because Temujin offered something almost impossible to find in those violent times: a leader who remembered loyalty. Among those who stood beside him was a young warrior named Boorchu. According to Mongolian tradition, the two first met after Temujin's horses had been stolen. Boorchu didn't know him. He wasn't expecting a reward. He simply chose to help. Together, they tracked the thieves across the steppe and recovered the horses. It was a small victory, but it marked the beginning of one of the strongest friendships in Mongolian history. Temujin never forgot it. Years later, Boorchu would become one of his most trusted generals. Again, loyalty was changing history. Not long afterward, Temujin married Borte, the woman his father had chosen years before. For a brief moment, it seemed as though life was finally becoming peaceful. He had a family. He had loyal companions. He was beginning to earn respect. Then everything collapsed once again. One night, a rival tribe known as the Merkids attacked without warning. Their warriors swept through the camp. They looted supplies. They killed anyone who resisted. And they kidnapped Borte. For Temujin, this wasn't simply the loss of his wife. It was a test. A leader who could not protect his own family would never unite the Mongolian tribes. This time, however, he wasn't alone. Instead of seeking revenge by himself, Temujin did something that few leaders of his age would have considered. He asked for help. He turned to Togrul, an older ruler who had once been an ally of his father. He also called upon his childhood friend Jamuka. Together, they gathered an army. Not a massive force, but enough to fight. Their attack came quickly. The Merkids were caught by surprise. After a fierce battle, Borte was rescued. For Temujin, the victory meant far more than bringing his wife home. It proved something much bigger. Trust could unite people faster than fear ever could. More warriors began joining him. More families placed themselves under his protection. His reputation spread across the steppe. People no longer saw him as the abandoned boy struggling to survive. They saw someone different. A leader who rewarded loyalty. A man who kept his promises. And someone worth following into battle. Without realizing it, Temujin had begun building something far more powerful than an army. He was building belief. For a brief moment, it seemed that Temujin had finally found the life he had been fighting for. His family was together again. More warriors joined his camp with each passing season. The boy who had once searched for roots beneath frozen ground was slowly becoming one of the most respected leaders on the Mongolian steppe. But power has always attracted both friends and enemies. Among them was the man who had once been closer to Temujin than anyone else, Jamuka. The two had grown up together. They hunted across the same grasslands, shared the same fire, swore the ancient oath of Anda, a bond that many Mongols believed was stronger than blood itself. For years, they fought side by side. But the more followers Temujin gained, the more different their dreams became. Jamuka believed that only noble families were born to rule. Power, he believed, belonged to bloodlines. Temujin believed something completely different. He had lived through hunger. He had lived through betrayal. He had survived because ordinary people had chosen to help him. To him, a man's loyalty mattered far more than the family he was born into. That idea spread quickly across the steppe. Warriors from poor families, former enemies, even men from rival tribes began choosing Temujin over their own chiefs. For the first time, the old traditions were beginning to break. Jamuka saw exactly what was happening. He no longer saw Temujin as his brother. He saw him as the greatest threat to the old way of life. War became inevitable. The battles that followed were fierce. Sometimes Temujin won. Sometimes he lost. But every defeat taught him something new. He studied every mistake. He changed his tactics. He rewarded courage instead of noble birth. And with every passing year, more warriors abandoned the old tribal system and joined him. His army became different from every army that had come before it. Men no longer fought for their clan. They fought for one another. They fought for the leader they trusted. Little by little, the balance of power changed. Then came the moment that would change history forever. In the spring of 1206, the greatest leaders of the Mongolian steppe gathered beside the Onon River. For generations, their people had lived divided. Now, for the first time, nearly every major tribe stood together. Temujin stepped forward, not as the frightened boy abandoned after his father's death, not as the prisoner who escaped with a wooden collar around his neck, not as the young warrior searching for loyal friends, but as the man who had united a nation. That day, the assembled leaders gave him a new title, Genghis Khan. No one in that gathering could have imagined what would happen next. Within a single lifetime, his armies would cross deserts, mountains, rivers, and continents. His empire would become the largest continuous land empire in human history. His name would be remembered in every corner of the world. But perhaps his greatest victory had nothing to do with conquest. It happened years earlier, the day a hungry boy, who had every reason to surrender, made the decision to keep going. History remembers emperors because of the empires they built. History remembers warriors because of the battles they won. But the world remembers Genghis Khan because he proved that greatness is never decided by where you begin. It is decided by whether you refuse to stop.